So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, a lot of local podcasts, and I've decided on this program I'm not going to ask you how you are. I'm not going to ask you what you did this weekend. No, we're not going to start the podcast out that way. I'm not going to ask POVincent, Michael Sorg from Sorgatron Media, the great guests that we have. I'm not going to ask Old Man Rob how they are. I'm not going to ask them how they're doing on River Talk, on the River's Edge Radio Network at riversedgepgh.com, Pittsburgh's voice for local music. 412-4072-PGH. You can text us. You can message us in the online chat room, which can be found at riversedgepgh.com/live or in the Facebook Live chat room. And you're not going to ask me how I'm doing, because you don't care. I don't care how you're doing. I don't care how Michael Sorg's doing. No one really cares. POVincent, we don't care how they're doing. Old Man Rob, we're going to see them in the second half of the show. No one cares. You don't care how they're doing. I don't care how they're doing. No one cares. And that's the intro for the show. If you don't like it, you can go back to where everyone is asking how everyone's doing and how everyone's weekend was. I put a lot of time into the intros of my show here on River Talk, and I hope it shows. Now, last week we had a little bit of a technical issue, and unfortunately the entire first 15 minutes of the show disappeared, so I just canned the whole episode because the intro is where it's at. The intro is what gets people involved. It's what gets people excited and interested. So I was so frustrated, I decided to take a walk, because you put all of that work into an intro, it doesn't go off, and I was on my game. It was fantastic. So I'm very frustrated, and I am just so aggravated with the situation that I take a walk to try to cool off some steam in the 90-some degree humidity-ridden air, which I love, actually, but I was blowing off steam in the humidity, in the heat, and I'm walking down the road, and some old guy is walking his dog. He's coming at me. We're heading right near each other, and I've got my cell phone out. I'm messaging someone. I'm frustrated. I'm just trying to calm down. And as the old man passes me, the old geezer says to me, so I could hear him, but almost offhanded, as if he's pretending not to be talking to me. He says, "Oh, can you live without that thing?" I paused. I turned to the old man. I flipped him off and I said, "Fuck you!" And he gets startled. He stumbles back a little bit. Poor little dog is there witnessing all of this. That's the true victim in all of this. He says, "I just asked a question." And I pointed to my ass, and I said, "I've got a spot on my ass reserved just for you. So pucker up." He says something else. He tells me something about pulling down my pants, which was kind of awkward. And then I just flipped him off one more time, and I said, "Fuck you." That old man, if he wanted to mess with me, he would have ended up in Hahn Funeral Home, the only family-owned funeral home in Millville. And I bet you he probably would have refused the green burial, because a son of a bitch like that probably just wants to pollute the earth. I feel bad for the dog. Can you imagine this animal, this poor innocent dog? This dog was a small dog. It was a happy dog, despite everything that was thrown at it in life, despite having to look at that old wrinkly sag of shit. This dog was cheery and happy, and I just can't imagine the abuse it has to go through, the mental abuse that it lives through on a daily basis. But then again, maybe it's the only thing that keeps the old bastard happy. And maybe that's why the dog's happy. Maybe he spoils the dog. I don't know. But if you're going to talk about your life, do it that way. Do it like a professional. Don't sit there and ask someone how they're doing. I mean, it's horrible. I was invited to listen to a podcast the other day. Somebody told me, listen to this podcast. It was about a story that I'm following, and I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to trash on someone else's show. But it was a story that I'm following. He asked me to listen to the podcast. I try to listen to it, and the first 10 minutes is just rambling about nothing. I'd rather listen to paint dry. Yes, listen to paint dry. That would be more exciting than listen to some dribble for 10 minutes straight about nothing. And it's boring. Who starts out a podcast, a show, asking how someone's weekend was? And it would be one thing if it was planned. For example, I'm here with Zach Fell to my left, and I start the show off. Hey, Zach, how was your weekend? And Zach goes, well, you know what? I was at the Greywalker show this weekend, and boom, 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 runs into the show. But no, I mean, this is just literally, what did you do this weekend? Because we have nothing planned for the intro of the show. It's not a Seinfeld episode. It's a podcast. It has to be about something, right? If I'm listening to a podcast on movies, at least mention an actor or something in the first 10 minutes. Don't talk about what you ate for breakfast. I don't care. No one cares. You're not that interesting. I'm that interesting. That's why I have a show about my life and you listen to it, but you're not. So stick to the script, please. For the love of God, stick to the script. It's been a crazy, crazy, crazy week here in Millville and in Sharpsburg and everything else. We were supposed to get the mayor on today, if you saw an earlier announcement, but unfortunately he had a family issue to attend to, a legitimate issue. He wasn't bailing on the show. He didn't want to get involved and he didn't want to interrupt the intro, so he decided to give me the full 10 minutes. But it was a crazy week. The entire place was flooded. I don't know if you saw the video from Jean-Marc. He posted a video, and it was the best video out of all of the videos from all the people and all of the pictures, and it shows the water running down North Avenue. And it looked like, well, it looked like a flood, but it looked like a river was going down the middle of the street. You could have gotten one of the canoes, like they do in Venice, where you canoe down the street. They could have done that in Millville the other day. It was crazy. And I'm looking at the video, and being that we used to reside there with the river's edge, I kind of know the geography, and the water had to have been at least a foot high. It was wild. I was really lucky. I missed the entire thing. I left for work that morning. It was 7 in the morning. No, I left at 6:40 in the morning, and the rain is just pouring down, pounding on the car. You had to run to get into the car. Of course, I don't own an umbrella because it's just something else to carry. So I'm running to the car, getting pelted by near hail levels of rain. It wasn't hail, but it was so heavy and so thick, this rain, and it was coming down so hard at such a force that it could have been hail. And I get into the car, and I drive out of Millville, but all of the roads looked fine. And then I'm at work, and I start getting all of these messages. The phone is blowing up. Some old guy walks by my machine at work, tells me something about being on my phone. I told him to fuck off, and then I looked at the messages, and they were all about Millville. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about Millville. Oh, look at these pictures of Millville. What's going on? I'm so confused. So I'm looking at the phone, and I'm seeing the entire town is underwater, and at first thought, I thought, oh, this is from the old flood. This couldn't be from this morning. I just drove down those roads. Sure enough, it was. It was from that morning. So I ended up going home to Irwin, spent the night there. I felt bad because I felt like part of me wanted to be here to help everybody. But I thought, what good would it be if I got trapped here? I missed work because it was supposed to rain again that night. And thank God it didn't rain as hard as it did, but it was just crazy. I want to give a big shout out to Janet Ziff, who is a business owner here in Millville. Whenever Sharpsburg was flooded, she took her truck and was delivering supplies and doing all sorts of hard work to help the people in Sharpsburg. And man, is karma a bitch, because Mother Nature just threw it back at us. I wonder if she didn't go to Sharpsburg, if they would have said, oh, they don't want it. They don't want it. We'll leave Millville dry. But it was just crazy. And it's just one thing after another with this town. We had the fire at Millville Studios, and then we had the flood, and apparently there was another fire today with an explosion. It's like we're living in some sort of, it's like some sort of villain has just zapped the entire town with a weather ray. But, I always look at the positives. Always look at the positives. Last time my building was in a fire, I moved here. Right? So I'm thinking now that there's a flood, I'll be able to get through some podcasts that don't start off with, oh, how's your weekend? Because people care about the flood, but people don't care about your weekend. Speaking of podcasts and speaking of new podcasts, we have a new podcast here today. It is POVincent, and they are going to be airing Friday the 13th, an aptly picked date. and it is going to be a movie review podcast. We have Vincent Didiano and Eric Williams who are going to be hosting the show. How are you guys today? Thanks for joining us. I'm not going to ask how your weekend was. I don't care how you feel. I care about the podcast. Tell me about the podcast. What is POVincent?
Me and Eric, we're two local comedians, and we've been friends for a while, and we're both movie lovers. And we both are going to bring POVincent here to the River's Edge. It's we've done a couple of mock-up shows, and I think we've had fun doing them. It's basically the show's going to break down to 3 segments. The first segment is going to be movie-related news, people, new trailers, people getting cast in new movies. In fact, for our premiere episode, one of the news stories that we're going to cover, and probably going to take up most of the news section, is a casting controversy around Scarlett Johansson because she was recently cast in a movie where the character is a transgender and transgender person, and a lot of people in the transgender community are upset about that. And hopefully, we'll have Sarah Halter on as a guest for that segment.
That would be cool. Yeah. She's a great member in the community, and she's a fantastic musician as well.
Oh, yeah, totally. So she'll get to plug her band.
Clutch?
Yeah, Blue Clutch is her band. Middle segment of the show will vary week to week. It's usually going to be some kind of discussion on something going on, maybe a top 10 list, something like that. For our premiere episode, we're going to be talking about the state of the Star Wars franchise. Brian, I believe we've talked to you about this. You, of course, are welcome to come on for that segment and talk about it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. Eric and I disagree. He's wrong. I'm right. Luke Skywalker, man, destroyed that character just like they ruined Vader in Episode 3.
We'll go over it all, baby.
But we'll go all of that the date of Friday the 13th.
Yes. And the final segment of the show each week will be our weekly movie review. And for our premiere episode, we are, once again, because it'll fit with the Friday the 13th theme in a way, we're going to be checking out Hotel Transylvania 3.
Nice.
Which is right now probably the only movie franchise that's keeping Adam Sandler in the good graces of the people. Because
he's still making movies that aren't just dating movies.
The thing because
he's going to be dating a corpse or something in this, right?
Oh. Oh, God. Yeah. Well, he plays Dracula in these movies.
Oh, really?
He plays. Yeah, the movie's about him being Dracula and him being an overprotective father of his daughter.
Is it the Adam Sandler stereotypical character that now is Dracula? Because that's going to really suck if that's the case. If it's the guy from Big Daddy and now he's got fangs, that's going to be really lame.
No.
I don't know if he can do anything else. He hasn't done anything else. He hasn't played another role in how many years? False. Okay, what else has he played in?
Funny People.
Oh, okay. And that's not the same. That's stereotypical character then?
No, it's not. So it gets weird because he essentially plays himself, but like his real self, not his stage self. So he's someone who used to be really funny in Funny People and now makes all these crappy movies do like, goo goo gaga! And everyone's like, oh, you're great. And he's like, life is horrible. I'm sort of happy I'm dying, but I kind of want to live.
That's good. I would like that because honestly, I liked him in his old stuff, but man, the new stuff is just horrible typically. So that sounds like that could be an exception.
Yeah.
I might like that one. So I'm not much of a movie watcher. You just happened to, on Facebook, in our Facebook feud on Star Wars, you just happened to pick the one franchise that I am really obsessed with and know a lot of information about. But Adam Sandler, outside of the old movies, I don't really watch a ton of movies nowadays. I'm hoping maybe you guys will open my eyes to some new movies that I might want to watch.
Well, that'd be great for the show because anybody who comes in and even if they're just friends of ours, because we both got friends who aren't big movie people, but if they're watching, then they share it around. We bring more people in talking because a movie, movies they're a wonderful thing. Because really at the end of the day, you think about it, movies get you invested in people that don't exist. Yeah. People don't fucking exist, and yet people will go to town to defend them, much like Brian, who's go down to defend Luke Skywalker and all that stuff. And that's a wonderful thing. They take it to these worlds, and sometimes they're grounded universes, like dramas or something like that, and they're very relatable. And then sometimes you got Star Wars, or you got the Marvel franchise. You got these large-than-life characters, but they have a sympathetic story going on.
Doesn't that go right to the point of my intro, though, that no one really cares about your life as an individual, what you're doing, how you're feeling? Maybe your friends care. Most of them don't. But certainly the general public doesn't care. But they care about fake people, right?
Vincent and I have a surprising amount of friends for two nerds who love nerdy stuff in movies. And some of our friends love movies. Some of them aren't familiar with movies. Some of them make movies. In fact, I spent the weekend with people making a movie for the 48-Hour Film Project. Thank you for asking, Brian.
Nice. That's fantastic. That's something that would be really interesting to talk about on the show. Things like that. Local news as well.
We'll cover it. We'll cover it briefly.
Because I did it one year, too. A few years back, I did it with...
Katie and Zach?
No, I did it with Dustin Dowling and Sarony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, who are those people?
Dustin Dowling is a local filmmaker. He works a lot with a lot of comedians doing like film projects and stuff. Really cool guy. And
him and Alex DePula do the...
what's that? Yeah, they have their own, like, on The Pits. Check out, they have a Facebook page and YouTube channel, The Pits, where, like, him and a few of the other comedians make, like, sketch videos and stuff like that. And what's the name of the one he does with Alex? Like, yeah, you like this?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like...
So, how did you guys get, obviously, dumb question, how did you get interested in movies? What brought your interest in movies to such a higher level where now you're critiquing it and analyzing it and researching what's going on in the movie industry? Like, I don't know the names of most celebrities, to be quite honest, but you guys know the ins and outs of all of this. What piqued your interest to that level?
Well, for me personally, it started on a small scale. Growing up as a kid, I watched, a ton of movies, and I was usually the movie guy in the family. If somebody would bring up, like, what was that one movie where they did the thing? And then I'd be, and who's the actor? I was like, Burt Reynolds.
You're a great guy to bring to trivia night.
Yes, I am. Yeah, and that just always had an interest in film. In fact, I almost became a film major in college, but that didn't turn out. Looking back, if I could go back, I probably would have gone through with that all the way. But what really started going, I think, was the advent of online content getting bigger and bigger, particularly with YouTube, because you start seeing all these people popping up with film reviews and stuff like that, and I like to engage it. And I've got a couple of friends who have made over the years who go to school for film. I've had great discussions with them, and it just got me motivated to talk more and more about it. And it's actually been really great for me because I was just, before I knew some stuff, but now I've gotten more into it. Like before, like 5 years ago, I didn't know what the hell cinematography meant. Now I know what cinematography is, and I pay attention to that stuff. Like when I was like we talked about this before. Solo. We're going back to Star Wars intentionally, but there's some poor cinematography in some of the scenes of that film. Where
there are. I think I even brought up something that you hadn't realized. Is that accurate? Dealing with some lighting. Yeah. I don't want to give any spoilers away, so I'm not going to say anything beyond that.
I think what Vince is kind of trying to say is we weren't good at dating when we were younger. But no, you as someone who loves radio, I think you must implicitly understand the importance of narrative just in life. Like we tend to understand just about everything we convey through narrative or story in some form or another. And movies are these creations. You take a narrative and you create a whole world that can visually and auditorily be consumed. And much as you only see what's on screen, there's a world existing beyond that the imagination can devour. And I think that is what really draws us to film.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Do you feel like in some ways story is diminished in today's world of special effects? Because that's one thing. I feel like a lot of the old movies a lot of times have, I don't think necessarily a stronger storyline, but a different storyline, where now everything is so run and gun and flashy and fast-paced. No one can take their time anymore. I look at like The Next Generation, for example. A show like that for TV could never exist in today's world because everybody's on ADHD. Everyone's too off the wall. No one can sit there and watch a group of people have a conversation at a conference table. Do you think that's accurate? At least not having a conversation at a conference table without someone throwing something or something like that.
That is something that's come up. I mean, using Star Trek as an example, the recent Star Trek films, they did take more of an action-adventure
There want to be Star Wars.
Yes, because the director, the first two, J.J. Abrams, has admitted he did not like Star Trek growing up. He was more of a Star Wars fan because he saw Star Trek as like Beethoven, and he saw Star Wars as rock and roll. And okay, that's good. J.J. Abrams has made some good stuff, but man, if that's how you feel about the franchise, you shouldn't be on it. And that is true, just like of a lot of things. Like we're getting inspiration from a man's shirt over here. This Transformers movie.
He's speaking to about Michael Sorg, who will be on in a little bit.
Yes, the Transformers franchise under the helm of Michael Bay. I remember when the first one came out. I know. I remember when the first one came out. I was like, "Oh my god, it's a movie about giant robots that turn into cars. Can turn so horrible." And the first one really wasn't that bad, but
it wasn't as bad as people say it was.
No, it's not. What makes the following films that bad, and we're up to 5 now, which with a Bumblebee prequel on the way, as well as a 6th movie in the main franchise, is that they're the same stories every time. There's the Autobots show up, Megatron comes, and there's a Decepticon battering the Megatron, and they want a MacGuffin item that turns on the big machine that blows shit up or like sucks the life out of something. It's the same story every time, and the general populace seems to be fine with it because they got big robots battling. And don't get me wrong, I love giant robots. I love some good Smash. I don't what it is, Gundam, Megas XLR, Big O, Voltron. I love me some giant robots. But if you ain't got story to carry it on, I don't care how well choreographed the action is. I don't care how good the special effects are. You need story and well-developed characters to make me care about it. You know, like you take Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino's films are known for like their action and blood and violence. But in between all the action, blood, and violence, there is wonderful character development. There is wonderfully well-written conversation between all these characters that keep you invested. All right, and that is something that's completely missing in the Transformers franchise. And honestly, if I wasn't reviewing movies, I probably would have stopped watching them. It's painful, you know.
It is. It's very painful to watch.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I always look at Star Wars to go back with that when I talk about the original trilogy versus the prequels, and I feel like this is how movies have changed in a lot of ways. In the originals, George Lucas had a story to tell, and he had to stretch the limits of technology at that time in order to get that story on the screen. Whereas in the prequels, George Lucas had some technology he wanted to show, and he had to throw a storyline together to get that technology on the screen.
Yeah.
You're looking at me with blood eyes. You disagree with me, Eric?
Not completely. I think the issue might have been that with the original ones, I think there was more of a team process. Like the original trilogy,
I agree
lightning
completely.
in the bottle.
I agree completely. And his wife was involved, his ex-wife, and she obviously was not involved in the prequels. And she actually had a very big role in the creation of those original movies. People don't realize that.
And the prequels, he seems to have too much creative control.
Oh, yeah.
And there is not as much inspired or
he being
lucky
George Lucas.
acting. Yes,
Yeah.
he being George Lucas. Because the dialogue in none of the movies, for the most part, is especially good. Like, there are moments...
Sand.
There are moments of good dialogue, but like for the most part, it's poor dialogue. But Harrison's Ford, like, I'm Harrison Ford. Carrie Fisher is like, I'm Carrie Fisher. Mark Hamill's like, I'm gonna get in a motorcycle accident at some point. Like, magic happens.
Well, Harrison Ford would actually change some of the dialogue to fit his vision of Han Solo.
Oh yeah, famously the where like right before he goes and the carbonite gets frozen, the original line was
Episode
like
5.
Yeah, Leia's like, I love you, and he's supposed to say, I love you too, or I love you back, something like that. And Harrison Ford's like, I don't think that's how Han would talk to his woman. They're like, well, what did he say? And then when you get the really cool line where she's like, I love you, he's just like, I know, because he's Han, damn it.
And he also he also was. Oh, go ahead.
Or because Harrison Ford was still sleeping with a like 20-year-old Carrie Fisher at that point, and he's like, nope, not telling you I love you. That's not happening.
That's a possibility as well. The other thing I'm thinking is when he changed that dialogue, he was still under the impression that Han shot first. After the change, he would have been like, I love you too, Schnuggums, because they turned his character into a bitch instead of a badass.
Yeah.
That person being George Lucas. Which, that's one, I can't get into it because it's another spoiler. Ugh, there's so much I want to talk about.
Jumping back to your earlier point about movies speeding up, I would agree and disagree in that we're at a point in society which, as technology and the amount that we can intake increases, where bam, 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 you need to hit people more often because we get stimulus from so many things that it's harder to successfully pull off indie movies. Like, you need exceptional dialogue. However, we've always kind of been obsessed with like getting things as fast as we can and getting as much serotonin pumping. We just weren't inundated as much with it because do you know where the phrase "cut to the chase" comes from?
No, I don't.
Warner Brothers executive producer, when they were editing, they've got the movie, they've got the plot. He'd be like, get rid of this, cut to the chase. Just cut to the chase.
Wow.
Because we need to get to the action. And this is going back to like the 30s, 40s, 50s. So there's always been that aspect of like, it's on screen, we need to show you exciting things, but it's been ratcheted up because we've had this cycle going on for decades and decades now.
But can't you do that in a way where you start the movie off in the middle of an action scene and then take a step back? That's a way that you could really get people engaged at the beginning and then develop the storyline. Don't you agree?
You're making me want to watch Drive again. Which was fantastic. No, that's something that like starts
I was
off.
thinking about that movie too. Okay, we're on the same page. All right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Drive was a great film. Wait, we're talking about the film from last year, right?
No, from like Ryan Gosling.
Oh God, no! Oh God, what was I thinking of? What was I thinking of that movie last year with?
I don't know. It's your brain.
Ansel Elgort was the main character.
Al Gore's in a movie?
No,
that's not an inconvenient truth. Well, I guess he invented movies too.
Yeah, and the internet.
So, well, the point is though, is you guys have a show coming out. It's going to be Friday the 13th, 9 a.m. on the River's Edge, right before Geiks Got Game. So it's going to be a real crazy mix of movies and then sports back to back. I think it's going to be great. Really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see if you guys do. Because I feel like you guys could really partner up with some of these different movie companies, movie theater companies, and even do a live show into a movie showing. I feel like that would be something really cool too. We have the technology to do that.
We have the technology.
Yes.
The Bionic podcast.
I think that'll be cool. I'm really excited to see what you guys do with it. I like what I saw in the last episode that you did, the last
mock
pre-show,
episode,
mock episode. So I think that was great. And there's going to be some clips from that episode, which will be coming up this week. So you can definitely stay tuned to that to kind of get a taste of what the POVincent show will be. Really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Friday the 13th, 9 a.m. at riversedgepgh.com. But people can watch it ahead of time.
Yeah,
Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night. We're shooting for around 10. If that changes, we'll definitely alert people. But yeah, 10 p.m. We're gonna go live. So if you can't watch it the next day at 9 a.m. because you're at work or whatever, you got something to do. Hopefully you can watch it that night right after the movie. That we're gonna try to maintain that for anybody who wants to know our thoughts, because we're always gonna be going to Thursday night early screenings of these movies.
Be a bad parent. Keep your kids up to 10 p.m. so they can watch the immediate review of Hotel Transylvania 3.
Absolutely. Check all of that out. 9 a.m. riversedgepgh.com. We have Michael Sorg up in a little bit with the awesome thing of the month. Old Man Rob will be coming in to talk about their album release party, which is also on Friday the 13th, but in the evening, so it won't interfere with your listening of the new show POVincent. And I have it on good word that they're going to be reviewing, you guys are going to be reviewing the movie How Are You from 2011.
Well, we didn't
you're gonna start the show off asking, how are you?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be about this movie from 2011.
We wanted to keep that a secret.
Damn it!
You had to like to reveal it.
Spoiled it. See, that's why I'm not on the movie news show, because I would be dropping all of the spoilers just like that. Again, I'm not gonna ask Old Man Rob how they're doing. I'm not gonna ask Sorg what his weekend was like. No one cares, but they'll be coming up after the weird news, which is on right now here on River Talk on the River's Edge Radio Network at riversedgepgh.com. All right, so we have some interesting comments here in the Facebook Live feed. Don't forget, you can message us on Facebook Live. This is River Talk. I'm Brian Crawford. You can also tweet me at RiverTalkPGH, or you can text us at 412-4072-PGH. That's 412-407-2744. Michael, who, he's talking about Old Man Rob, which will be coming up in the second half. But there was an interesting comment in here. I'm trying to find it. Oh, yes, here it is. It's from Jared, who says that Old Man Rob was supposed to be on the soundtrack for Transformers 5, but that shit was so weak, they passed. That's good. That's good on them. We're going to talk to them about that and much more here in just a few minutes. We do have the weird news. As you know, it flooded all throughout this entire region, so the creature in the river is pissed. It's pissed, and it wants good, weird news, and I have it for the Mon Monster. I am Brian Crawford. I am Pittsburgh's #1 weapon against the beast, trying to soothe it with interesting stories and maybe with an interesting joint. That's right, a joint is going for a really, really high value. Really high value. It is a $24,000 joint. It says here, according to the Huffington Post, got money to burn? Well, you could always spend it on a joint worth $24,000. That's the estimated worth of a 3-foot-long joint that was auctioned off on Thursday night for a charity by Stone Road Farms. That's kind of interesting. So it's in Los Angeles, which now has legalized weed. And I wonder how that would work, because I know that the government is going to want to collect taxes on everything that's auctioned off. Being that weed is illegal on a federal level, how would they collect the taxes on the sale, on the auction? Just some food for thought. Also, a zoo has a really, really interesting new gift bag. Let's bring in Michael Sorg here. We've got Michael Sorg of Sorgatron Media. Sorg, have you ever been to the zoo?
Yes, I have.
Did you ever buy a gift at the zoo?
Yeah, usually at the really crap, like a little giraffe toy or something like that.
Okay, so you get toys and things like that?
A hat. I have a nice zoo hat.
Okay, but you like the toys?
Yeah.
Something you can play with, right? Something that's fun.
Yeah, even today at 37.
Well, there is a zoo in Detroit that has a new toy just for you. This zoo in Detroit, the Detroit Zoo, they are going to be selling a new toy for people to sit on their counter or keep for as a keepsake, a real true zoo-like experience. The zoo in Detroit will be giving out free buckets, free 5-pound buckets of animal manure that you could take home. You could take the zoo experience home with you, Michael.
You know what? I think somebody was inspired by the Cards Against Humanity special prize the one year when they were just sending poop to people. But there might be some like reparative and or properties like this sounds like one of those homeopathic things.
Yeah, it's interesting. It says buckets will be available for the first 1,000 visitors to the zoo's anaerobic digester educational display.
You made up half those words.
I know, right? It sounds like it. No, those are real words apparently, and you can go and get your own free bucket of shit. Talk about a load of shit at the Detroit Zoo.
Welcome to the new Detroit.
Yes. You mentioned about poop from people. We mentioned this a little bit ago. You can just go to San Francisco and scoop it up yourself right on the ground.
See, and my wife is coming back from San Francisco tomorrow, but I'll tell her to bring me back a prize.
Yeah, hopefully she didn't step in any of it.
Yeah.
So
it's the first thing I'll ask her when she gets off the plane. So you step in some human poop? No?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Well, go to Detroit and you can get yourself some exotic poop. Imagine the types of poop that they could have. Imagine if you got a 5-pound bucket of elephant poo. That's something that's unique. That's something that you will have something that none of your other friends have.
Light that on fire on your neighbor's porch.
Yeah,
exactly. No, don't do that.
Unless it's that old bastard walking his dog in Millvale. Light it on his porch. So this one I thought you would appreciate, Sorg, and I saved this story for last, and I'd planned to bring you in with this one. Because I know that you experience this on your show every once in a while. I've had this experience on this show as well, where you get heckled or interrupted in the middle of a broadcast.
Or people want a cigarette from you through the window when you were on last time.
Yes.
Yes.
But even more specifically, technology has turned on you. I've seen it. I've heard it. It's happened to me as well. And it happened it happened in the House of Commons by the Defense Secretary. His name is Gavin Williamson. He was speaking about the Islamic State. This is according to the Huffington Post. And he was talking specifically about Syria. And when he mentioned Syria, Siri decided to chime in. And she said, I found something on the web for Syria. So he was heckled on the floor of the House of Commons by Siri. And I know you've had that experience with Alexa. And I muted Alexa right before the show started because I knew we would be talking about it, because I also have been heckled by Alexa during several of my programs.
Multiple times during our shows, we'll wake up Siri, we'll wake up the Echo, because especially on the wrestling show, because there's a wrestler that we talk about a lot named Alexa Bliss. And then all of a sudden, from across the room, we'll hear, like, I'm sorry, I don't understand, or whatever, or I bought toilet paper, who knows?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's been kind of an issue that we've had. It's just kind of a thing that happens, it interrupts, stops us, and we laugh about it and move on. But it's just kind of one of those funny things.
That is funny. But people are now outraged, and so, that we live in this culture. And I guess there is some legitimate...
What are we outraged about now?
Because he's the Secretary of Defense, and their argument is that Siri is listening to him at all times. He should have it disabled because he's talking about classified information, and now Apple's hearing all of this classified information via Siri.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good test and discussion for the Apple security measures with that, because supposedly everything is anonymized and everything like that. So, and that's why Apple is typically, I think, used as the most secure device when we're talking about government situations.
Okay. More so than BlackBerry? Because I thought everybody
BlackBerry is definitely on lockdown, but good God, man.
Barack Obama used the BlackBerry until the very end.
You know what? And on several levels, Barack Obama is a better man than I. Okay, he also was really good, made really good steps towards world peace. But if that means his dexterity from a BlackBerry was assistant at that, then God bless him. But in the meantime, I think that's just, of course, when you use a word from another show that kind of laughs, techno panic that happens here with something like that. But it does give you a pause or something like that. I mean, if nothing else, just there should be a little bit of a, hey, turn off your cell phone, turn off your ringer, turn off your Siri, maybe. And maybe that should be a little more like one of those quick buttons that pops up, when we're disabling our Wi-Fi or our breakers or something like that. That, I think, is the issue more than somebody's listening, because I don't think it's proven that it's as big of a deal with the Apple side of things.
Yeah, I would agree, but it was funny, and I thought it was an interesting situation. I know it's something we've both...
Sorry, I just had additional questions on this one.
Yes.
So he's doing this. Is this in a public forum?
Well, this is it would be like... You could probably watch it, how we can watch the House of Representatives on C-SPAN. So he was giving a speech to the House of Commons.
Okay, and because he did that in front of people in a speech publicly, now they're saying, well, this guy has private meetings about classified information. This thing's completely listening to him.
People are stupid.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a leap for me, right?
Yeah.
So
people were dumb. Yeah. That was kind of the...
Hey, Siri, go into classified mode. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see what she does.
So... we have the awesome thing of the week, and we have music for it, right? Or no music this week.
No.
We will have music for it.
We're only partially awesome this week.
Yeah,
I can sing it. We getting awesome.
That's the Awesome Cast theme song, and we've got the awesome thing of the month.
Yes.
And it is...
we got actually kind of two conjoined things. My awesome thing of the month is video games, and video games happening in Pittsburgh.
All right.
Yes. I actually had a fortune through my affiliation with Work Hard Pittsburgh. Missed the opening... week of this. It's a Game Jam Pittsburgh. A lot of guys are involved in it. John Lang from Looking for Group and Academy Pittsburgh, and of course, Shell Games was a part of it. Replay FX, a lot of stuff. It is if you've ever heard of like startup weekends, it's like a startup weekend kind of concept that people come, pitch their idea. I think they vote on like the top so many ideas to try to get through over the process, and then you kind of like build a team right there on the spot and try to put something together in a period, in this case, a week to make a video game. Right?
Oh, wow.
There were board games, there were video games, so like it was, so there was two different categories. There were about 3 board games involved there, and there were 12 teams total, so doing the math, 9 video games made. And we got to play with it. We talked about this a lot on the last episode of Awesome Cast. My friend Riz from Riz Plays Games happened to attend it, and he was playing a lot of the games and got to see it as a spectator, myself behind the live switch for the stream. And you can go to Work Hard Pittsburgh and see that we did interviews with the developers that talk about the games and show the games. Fizzbomber was one that won it. That was a nice kind of 8-bit kind of shooter kind of thing. That was a lot of fun.
Got a cool name.
And the other games, I can't remember. It was one was like Color Blast or something, and the other one was It's one that we played a lot where you were 2 guys with barbed wire baseball bats. It's like kind of 2D thing. There are 3 colored balls, and if hit all 3 of the color balls consecutively. They go in this blackout mode where the other guy's back goes away and colors are flying everywhere. There's a theme of complementary colors across the spectrum for these games that were being made.
Okay.
And that one used the colors a lot. Another one had a cool color wheel concept that you cooperate with people, and certain things were like one person did like the direction, right at the left, and the other ones did the direction up and down. Cool concept, but it seems like if they had more time to develop levels around it, it could be a lot of fun. Just really cool to just see like that you guys made this in a week.
That is amazing.
There's a cool boxing game.
There's so much that goes into that.
Yeah, and some of the things, like I'm looking at the boxing game, is a very 3D kind of game. You hit a guy once. It looks like Gang Beasts, if you're familiar with that in the video game world. And but you look at it and you're just like, well, if you know something like a Unity platform already and know how to develop in that space, you can make a couple 3D objects, make them have a hit thing, and that's pretty simple. But they made something that was fun to play, a quick thing, and something that if you had more time, you're like, this could be a more fleshed out game and something I'd buy on Steam. At least the first place, Fizz Bomber, is going to be available at Replay FX, I believe, at the Looking for Group booth, I believe, is the prize for it. So you can go check out these games that were made in like a week, and maybe they'll have some more improvements after that. But it was just a really cool thing, and this is the second one that I've had a chance to check out the final pitches on and be a part of, like the video production side of it, of course. And just a cool thing that happens in town. There is this really cool, like, obviously with all the other computer things that are going on in town, but just like this, seeing people kind of pull something together like this.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That seems so complicated, because video game development is hard.
Oh yeah,
right? So
there's so much that goes into it. We talk about the 48-hour film fests, and I feel like this is as difficult, if not
kind of
more
a similar concept.
Difficult in some ways, because there's so much of a technical expertise that you have to understand.
Right. Well, I think in both, especially if you're looking at video games versus movies, you're looking at an interesting intersection between art and technology.
Yes.
And technical prowess, right? And it's cool to see what comes out from that. And from oftentimes teams of complete strangers that just got together.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other task in there too. But again, leading into the other awesome thing that goes with this, it is Replay FX. It's, to me, a personal holiday. It's the one of the very few instances during the year where I say, no work, I'm going to do this.
Nice.
And actually last year I volunteered.
Oh, nice.
I spent my time in the console lounge helping out just...
Now, Replay FX, explain that for the audience.
So Replay FX, it's the Replay Foundation. This is actually a nonprofit. The Pop-Up Pinball people, they run out of a warehouse in Carnegie.
Which is awesome.
I think they've been... You've been down there?
I've been down there.
It's great.
It is fantastic.
It's just a freaking
so much
playground.
nicer inside than you would... Like, it doesn't... From the outside, you wouldn't expect it to look as nice as it does when you go inside. You go inside, and it's beautiful in there.
But it's hard for them to have events. They were having like 400 people go down there for the pinball events, and at a certain point, they outgrew it. And we've done interviews with these guys. You can check out Replay FX. Just search for them on awesomecast.com. You can check out these interviews. One we did in the facility, actually, with them. And so they're a nonprofit just kind of in the preservation and education of like the history of video games, right? And they have all these pinballs and arcade cabinets and things like that. So they rent out the David Lawrence Convention Center, almost I think the entire floor at this point. They may be this year for sure, but they bring all those arcade games in. They ship them all in there. They have a console lounge with a bunch of consoles, like some that like stuff like the I believe the Apple console that they had in the 90s that never went anywhere. I think it's called the Pico. Is there Neo Geo, and then of course tons of Super Nintendos and Nintendos, and it's TurboGrafx 16, and everything up through like PlayStation 4, 360, right, in the console lounge. You pay one price, you go in there, all the games are set to free play, all the console games, everything like that. There are tournaments there that you can become part of. Looking for Group will be there. They have an insane presence. I was talking a little bit about what they're doing. Last year they have all these console tournaments, and just like, I think he was talking about, they're going to run like 15 screens of stuff, and some of them are tournaments, some are just playing stuff in the PC lounge that they have set up. Just insane. Great video game based bands. Last year I saw Bit Brigade. They were speed running games like Mega Man 2 and DuckTales. I remember seeing too. So they're speed running the games. The guy's sitting there playing them, and they're playing live the music of the video game that you would hear in the video game as you go, like 2 as they're going.
Yeah,
like
that's
it
insane.
was just really cool to see again, like this mashup of things happening live. It was a really cool performance, you know, and they've done other shows like outside of Replay FX here. I know a couple months ago, and other kind of cool like music game. Stuff like that. Plus the pinball tournament. It's definitely recommended to go down there and check that out. Volunteer. They can use tons of volunteers. I just put in for my volunteering. And I just sign up, like, put me in the console lounge as long as you want me. Like, I just love hanging around that stuff. It's just a big, huge thing to me. So it is, let me get the dates so I don't mess it up. You can check out more information at replayfx.org. And I don't know why I can't find the dates on here for some reason.
We'll post them in the chat here on the Rivers Edge.
Yeah, it's the last
chat,
weekend here in July, I know. It's probably because the page has been loaded a while ago. But that last weekend in July, and tickets aren't that bad for it. I'm sorry, July 26th through 29th. You can go check that out. It's just a lot of fun. They got everything. DDR. But a friend of mine is really big into the Battletoads arcade game. For some reason, you find something cool. Like I'm a really big fan of the 6-player double widescreen X-Men arcade game from the '90s. Yeah, I see you over there. It's a really cool thing. It's an awesome celebration of video games.
Very cool. So check that out in the end of July, and also check out Awesomecast every Tuesday night.
We'll actually have John Lang on from Looking for Group on this week, this Tuesday night live on our Facebook page. We do that at 7 p.m., and I'll be on the podcast afterwards. And we're going to catch up with what's coming up with Replay FX and what's the latest with Looking for Group, which is an awesome kind of gaming lounge they have over there in Brookline.
Fantastic. You can also check it out every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. here on the Rivers Edge at riversedgepgh.com. That's Michael Sorg. I'm Brian Crawford, and to my right, we have Old Man Rob, and they have an album release party, which is coming up. Very excited about this, and it is going to be on Friday the 13th as well, and that starts at 6:30 p.m. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I'm really excited about the album release party, and that's going to be over at Cativo.
That is correct, yeah.
So tell me about this album.
Well,
I gotta hear. I got a sneak peek.
Goddamn right, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
it's
look
awesome.
at that.
Just years in the making, finally got shit together, and we are releasing it upon the fucking world. Yeah.
You say years? How many years?
3 years.
3 years.
Basically collecting equipment and shit in the basement until we could, figure out how to use it all. And
so you recorded it yourselves?
Yeah,
then?
in the basement, man.
That's awesome.
2 months of fucking.
Is it hard to do it in the basement? Like, did it take a lot to prep your basement to be prepared?
Prep
I know.
was zero.
Okay.
It's a goddamn mess down there for sure. But the hardest part was working in between kids screaming upstairs. So, dogs and kids. Yeah, they fucking damper the process big time.
Yeah. The reason why I ask is now, do you guys have a traditional Pittsburgh basement, or do you have a finished basement that you've recorded in?
It's like a half and half.
Okay. Because I know
for sure.
We were just talking with Michael Sorg. He started in the basement with Sorgatron Media, and now they've got this beautiful studio in Beachview. But he was in the basement.
I do not have that. Yeah.
He was in the basement. Well, that's okay. I think it took Sorg a decade to get to the beautiful studio on Beachview. So give it another 7 years.
7 years.
Then you'll be good. But what do you have to do as far as like sound quality? Because I know when you're in one of those old cellars, they're not always the best in sound quality, and you have to do a lot to prepare.
We kind of didn't have to worry about it too much because a lot of it was DI. So we're going straight to the interface.
That's true.
And we use a Kemper Profile amp, so that's just DI'd right in, so you don't have to mic anything, shit like that, and you get perfect fucking sound.
Game changer was with the
drums too. Yeah.
Ever since we
use E-drums and then put it in through a program and do all the crazy shit to
it,
and it sounds fucking amazing.
So Aaron and Jake, correct? I got it right this time. So it took me. I'm bad with names. It takes me a while. If I see it written down, which is probably what I should have just done, was write it down, then it makes it easier. Yeah,
it's all good.
But yeah, I'm excited. So 3 years, and you said you were dealing with. Well, I shouldn't say deal. You had family that you were also marking around with the sound. So
and then everyone's schedules and
vicious
shit.
attack dogs as well.
How many times did you have to re-record something because?
Oh fuck, dude. When it came to the vocals, I was never satisfied. I'm sitting in my own basement doing it myself, so it's like you have that time to sit there and just fester in it, and it is awful, because everything you hear is never good enough. It's never fucking good enough.
Well, that's the thing. I hate recording.
Yeah.
I hate it. That's why I do all of my shows live. I can't stand it.
Yeah, right.
It's
You don't have to worry about it.
agonizing.
Whatever happened, happened.
Yeah, you can't change it. It's done with. But when you're pre-recording something or you're recording an album, you have an infinite amount of time.
It's brutal,
go back and
especially when
change
it's in
things.
your own basement and you're not paying the engineer to sit there.
Exactly.
So I have all the time in the world, basically. So when I set up the show for the release party, it was just like, fuck it, this is when it needs done by.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it, and then whatever happens, happens. You know?
Sometimes you have to set those kind of boundaries. I know myself as a writer, when I write things, I don't write with a pen and paper. I write with things in my brain moving around, wrinkles or whatever, and it just stews in my mind for days.
Yeah.
And I won't write it down until there's a deadline. And when I have that deadline, I'm just thinking to myself with the extra wrinkles in the back, oh shit, this needs to get done. And then it comes all out on a paper.
Yeah.
But I do all of the work in my head beforehand. And
Kinda
without
similar.
that, without that deadline, it'll never get done.
Yeah, I mean, with me, you just get caught tinkering, and I mean, you can spend hours and hours and hours fucking with one bit of EQ or something like that, and you'll never be happy. I mean, when it comes to recording, you just accept what it is and move
Just
on.
gotta pull the
Yeah.
trigger and just get it out.
Exactly.
Now, Activa, will you guys be upstairs or downstairs?
I believe we were upstairs.
You're gonna be
I
upstairs?
tried for that
Oh,
downstairs,
okay.
couldn't get it. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you were downstairs, you won't have to worry about anybody being on the cell phone because no one will get reception.
Yeah, right. That's right.
But upstairs, you can get people streaming and everything
Yeah,
else.
no, it's cool. I mean, we've played there a bunch, which is why we're having it there, because they've
Yeah.
just been good to us in general, and it's
Sound
just
really
always,
good, too.
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
the first
the
place
sound
I
is-
met you, Aaron?
I believe
Was that
so.
Activa?
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
so.
a St. Patrick's Day show or something like that.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, we did a Mike Sasson did a
Sasson,
show
yeah, fuck
there.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Which was great. So yeah,
That was good
it's a
shit.
great space. Yeah, it's really really cool. It's going to be a great venue. So
The
tell me
food's
about,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Great
food
food.
is fantastic there. It's great. I know. That's the one thing is I refuse to go out without getting something to eat typically, except for last night, and that's why I've got this giant jug of water because
Hitting that sauce.
yeah. Oh my God. Oh, it was horrible. I went out. Well, I was invited out to get a couple drinks, and that was it. And they said, "Well, why don't we go to this other bar for one last drink?" And I go into that other bar, and the mayor of the town's there. One of the business owners is there. Some other musicians are there. Everybody's there at this bar in the entire town. And then I didn't get out of there until way later and way
happens,
drunker. Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
You get rolling, you don't want to stop. It's too fun. Fuck it.
So you've got Milvin and the Etnoids, videotapes, Still Life, and whoever the hell else shows up. Is that an invitation?
No, that's all the bands there are. It's just, people show up, that's cool. We don't do this for fame and fortune and shit like that.
Speak
It's
for
just-
yourself.
Yeah. It's just to play tunes and, we wrote shit we liked and that's fucking that. If you dig it, you dig it. If not, you can go fuck yourself. That's fine.
So here we have an interesting comment here. This comes from Carlos, who says that the pizza at Cativo is almost as hot as Old Man Rob's bass player.
That's me. That's actually our drummer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Carl.
Fantastic. So tell me about the bands you have on the lineup. How did you come up with that decision? Bands that you've just played with a lot?
They're all buddies of ours, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Still Life is actually his cousin. He plays drum with them, and he actually played bass with us until we got Jake. And then Milvin and the Etnoids, Jeff Portman's the fucking shit, so gotta have him around anytime we
The
can.
King of Millville.
And then Videotapes is actually Matt Sabbath, the dude from Brighton Music. He's
Okay,
the
nice.
guitar tech there. It's his band, and he's a badass dude, I mean, for sure. And then just good group of dudes, get them jamming, and that's that, man.
So tell me about the songs on the album. What can you tell me? We're going to play one of them.
Yeah.
They're interesting names.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, my song writing process is probably not the usual. It's just kind of whatever happens, and well, it fucking sounds good, I'll go with it, And then when you get to the lyrics, it's just like random bullshit that sounds good, And that's that, and it's like, what's the song be called? This, and we just go with it, and I try not to try too hard, trying not to try.
Yeah.
But, because that's the whole thing, it's like, this is, basically the last band I was going to do, and figure, fuck it, I'll do whatever I want. If it takes as long as it takes, oh well.
What's funny, I talked with Josh Verbanitz of Meeting of Important People about his lyrics, and you know, I really always appreciated their lyrics, and he pretty much said the same thing. He's like, yeah, just, you know.
I mean, I hope people get something out of it if they dig on it, but, you know, when it gets down to it, there ain't shit.
Is there a particular song that you guys are really proud of on this album? Like, in particular, the song that is the blowout song, the song that you think is going to be the number one hit? That doesn't always happen. I've had bands on here before, they're like, well, this song, we never expected anyone to really jump behind this song, and it's the most popular song. But is there one that you kind of feel that vibe? Kind of like last week when I introed the show, and I'm like, I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
And then we had the tech issue.
To me, they're all pretty good, because like I said, I wrote the shit that I want to hear. You know?
Sure,
so,
yeah.
But I like Sunshine's pretty good. Fortune's awesome. Wise Man's pretty good. Dig is fun. They're just good groovy tunes, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't pick a favorite, to be honest. I don't think I could. I like them all. I mean,
if we didn't like them, we wouldn't fillet them, you know.
Oh, sure. I understand that for sure.
But it's cool. Yeah. I mean, I can't pick one that says this is the best one on the album.
One's not. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, it just people dig what they dig, and that's it.
Yeah. You excited to see the reaction of people?
Yeah, I mean, we released some shit early on to people on like Instagram and stuff like that. They got a hold of the album early, and people seem to dig it, which is cool because it's like I don't know any of these people. You know, my buddies will tell me, yeah, it's great, blah blah blah. But you know, you're my friend. You're gonna tell me what I want to hear. So your opinion isn't valid. You know. Yeah. But these cats from, you know, Texas and Arizona and shit like that, they're like, this is fucking awesome.
Isn't that awesome when you get that feedback?
Yeah,
I know.
cool.
I've gone to events before, and people are like, you're Brian Crawford. They recognize you. And it's really cool to find these people who you don't know who dig what you're doing. And it really does say something because you know you're reaching
someone.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not just the people who feel obligated. It's not just the people who are tuning in because they know you guys, so they've tuned into the show. You get people who start tuning in all the time, and it makes
it's cool, man.
Makes a really big difference.
Yeah, it gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling inside. You know?
It does. It just reaffirms, you know, when you know you're super great, it just reaffirms that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know you're the best.
Best of the
best.
And
then everybody just comes out and they reaffirm it, and then you say, yeah, I already knew that.
Yeah.
You know, and
thanks for telling me that.
Yeah, exactly.
But get out of here.
Got things to do.
Yeah. Kids to take care of. Yeah.
So give people one big push. Why should everybody come out Friday the 13th after they already listened to POVincent in the morning?
Yes.
They're all waking up. They're ready to go. They're coming out 6:30 Cativa. Why should people come out?
Because we'll find you if you don't. No, I mean, you know, you want to have a good time, chill with cool people, have a few drinks, you know.
bang some heads.
Yeah, man.
It'll be fun.
Get your tickets early. It's going to be $5 in advance. It jumps up to $8 at the door, which is still a steal for you know, that
and the
many.
CD's $5. We made it cheap, you know.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. So coming out to that's going to be, again, 6:30 at Cativo, Friday the 13th. Is there a reason why you picked Friday the 13th?
It was available. It was in the time frame of where I wanted to release, so
yeah. So it worked out.
Hell yeah.
Very cool. So Friday the 13th, 6:30 at Cativo. If you had to pick one song that you want us to play off of this album, what would you pick?
It's your call, Bo.
Play some Fortune, man.
Fortune. Do we have Fortune? We've got Fortune.
Fuck yeah.
All right, so Old Man Rob, 6:30, Cativo. Thank you guys so much for joining
thanks
us.
for having
Thanks
us.
to
Thanks,
Michael Sorg. Thank you so much to POVincent. Don't forget to check out that new show. It premieres Friday the 13th, 9 a.m., right before Geiks Got Game. You can hear Michael Sorg every Saturday morning, 9 a.m., or watch it live. And that's going to be at awesomecast.net, 7 p.m. Don't forget to check that out as well. I'll be back on Friday. Jay is back. I'll be back. It's going to be Friday at 6 p.m. right here in the studio. Don't forget to check out the Mike Sasson Show. It's going to be coming up just after this in a little bit, right around 9:30. And I almost forgot, but I really want to tell you guys to come on out July 26th through the 29th to YinzCon 2018. YinzCon 2018 is a Rocky horror convention, and it's happening right here in Pittsburgh. You can check that out as well. My good friend Randy Highland, who is my co-host on the Culture Cruise, he's one of the masterminds behind the YinzCon Fest. So definitely go check that out as well. Don't forget, Friday, 6 p.m., I'll be here. We've got local music on the stream 24/7 a day at riversedgepgh.com, Pittsburgh's voice for local music. Tell your Alexa to play the River's Edge station on TuneIn to get that as well. Thanks to Michael Sorg. Thanks to Zach Fell behind the board, POVincent, and Old Man Rob. I'm Brian Crawford. This is River Talk. This is the River's Edge Radio Network.